Just yesterday, we got our first official still of Avatar Fire and Ash thanks to Empire Magazine and their Path to Pandora series, which gave us our first look at Neytiri. Avatar Theory here, hope you're doing well and having a fantastic day, and I already spoke about the article that accompanied this image, which talks about Neytiri being tested with her family, with herself, her land, her people, and that she is essentially going to question everything. And if you have not read that article yet, I recommend you check out the article in the link and the pinned comment below, as it is a really interesting read and give us some insights as to what we can expect for this character in Avatar Fire and Ash. But in this video, I want to try and break down the image, try and see what I can find, and just speculate as to when this image could take place in the movie. But do keep in mind that when breaking down this image, all of it is just speculating, theorizing, and guesswork. So it'll be interesting coming back to this once the movie releases to see if I was actually right. So looking at the image as a whole, obviously we can see that she is full of hatred and anger, judging by her facial expression. And looking at the background, it certainly seems like something is on fire. Perhaps it's the debris or the destruction of some sort of RDA ship, or maybe even bridgehead. But I do feel that this is probably taking place in a forest area. And if you look at her one eye closely, you can see there is definitely fire in front of her based on the reflection in her eyeball. Just shows you the incredible detail on the character and how the visual effects designers have done a phenomenal job at bringing her to life. But like I said, it does look like there's fire in front of her. Maybe the one side is something that's on fire and the smaller part is possibly the arrow that's on fire. But looking at the arrow itself, you can see that the back part of the arrow does look somewhat similar to the arrows she used in Avatar The Way of Water and the first Avatar movie. So I do think that this is her own arrow that she's using. But as for the bow, I'm not entirely sure whose bow she's using. It certainly does not look like the bow she used from Avatar The Way of Water, as we know that her bow broke at the end of the movie, so it doesn't look like she repaired that bow. And we can see some sort of bead at the back there hanging from the string. And I've seen some people saying that it is possibly Neteyam's bow, but looking at the visual dictionary for Avatar, there isn't any similarities to his bow either. You can see that his bow doesn't have that tone, that color tone, that dark or orangey brown color in the front, and there's no beads hanging from the string. It could be one of his beads that's used on the string, so that Neytiri always carries a piece of him with her. That could be the idea behind it, but I'm honestly not sure if this is a new bow or maybe a bow made from the leftover pieces of her old bow. I guess we will have to wait until the teaser trailer or until the movie for a full explanation on where she got this new bow. Now, of course, the most obvious thing from this picture is the face paint, the war paint, which is the same war paint she uses in the first Avatar movie, and thus it gives me the impression that this scene probably takes place near her home at the Metkayina, because that is the same paint she got from her people, which in essence means that she will travel back to her people and then some sort of fight will break out, or maybe perhaps she's attacked by Varang, hence why she has to defend her home. But I'll get into that detail in a minute. We can also see she's wearing some sort of neck piece, and again at first I thought maybe it's something from Neteyam, but it doesn't really look the same. If you look at the pattern that he was wearing and the pattern that she's wearing, although there might be some small similarities, the way it's shaped doesn't really look the same. I mean, if you look at only the image, you can see that it does have somewhat of a different shape, but this is loosely guessed on the angle we have from this image. Now, if you do brighten the image somewhat, you can see that she is wearing something that has some feathers at or around her chest area. So she is definitely wearing some sort of outfit we have yet to see. And also the part around her arm, that brown strap, it kind of reminds me of the same armband that Spider wears. I don't really know if there's some sort of similarity there, but it kind of reminds me of something like that. And speaking of arm, I know a lot of people have for some reason speculated that Neytiri will lose an arm. I don't really know why. I don't really know if it's based on this image, but this image here shows that she's definitely not going to lose an arm, or if she does, then it hasn't happened in the scene yet. But I don't really think Neytiri is going to lose an arm at all. And then of course we can just see some scratches on the side of her eye where she's bleeding, so of course she's already been through some sort of battle. Other than that, I couldn't really find any other detail on this image aside from that it looks absolutely fantastic, because if you look at Neytiri from the first Avatar movie to The Way of Water to Avatar Fire and Ash, you can see the visual upgrade this character has gotten due to the tech and the creative team behind these movies. So I cannot wait to see this in action. It is by far one of the best still images that I've seen from the Avatar franchise, and hopefully we'll get some sort of teaser sooner rather than later. Now the big question of course is, when does this scene take place? I do feel that given the war paint and the markings on the face, the environment, that it takes place much later in the movie, maybe towards the third act. But do keep in mind that all of this is just guesswork and theorizing, speculating, as we don't really know much about the movie itself just yet. However, as I said, given the fact that she has the same war paint from the first Avatar movie, and we know she got that war paint from her people, gives me the indication that she went back home, as we already know that she and Jake is going to go through some struggle. And I've speculated before that Jake is going to essentially want to protect his family, go after Quaritch, and he has to stop Quaritch, otherwise he's never going to stop coming after his family, and Neytiri is going to want to go back to her people. But as we know from the CinemaCon footage, that apparently something does happen to Neytiri where she does get injured. So I do think that she's going to get injured possibly at the beginning of the second act, maybe at the end of the first act, and then she's going to be taken home to the Metkayina to be taken care of. And then while Jake is fighting off the RDA in the third act, fighting Quaritch, then maybe that's when the Ash clan, Varang and her people, come for the Metkayina. And this is essentially where this scene takes place, where Varang fights Neytiri. And much like we see from the end of the first movie, where Neytiri takes out Quaritch, I do feel that this still is just before she's about to take out somebody important. Maybe it's Varang, but I also feel that it could be a situation where all the hate, all the rage Neytiri had built up to this moment, and as she's about to let go of her string, as she's about to kill Varang, she realizes what Varang became, how Varang became so disconnected from Eywa, so disconnected from everything, and Neytiri feels that through her hatred, through her anger, through her questioning everything, that she is essentially going down that same path. Thus, she might feel in this moment that if she lets go of the string, if she's about to kill Varang, then she will essentially become her, and therefore she stops herself from killing Varang, showing mercy instead of hatred. But like I said, that is of course just speculation. And just an interesting fact about the first reveals or the first look at the Avatar movies. I believe the first one for the first Avatar movie was this one here with Jake and his avatar. The second one was Spider, which interestingly enough was also revealed by Empire magazine. And even though this is not a still from the movie, it was kinda a first look at Avatar The Way of Water, but you can see that this was one of the behind the scenes images because of the green bars in the background. And then of course the first look at Avatar Fire and Ash is this image of Neytiri. So just interesting to look at these three images and see what exactly was the first images that was shown to promote the movies. But what do you feel overall about this image? Do you think there was, like I said, something that I missed? Do you think it takes place during a different time? We will probably know more soon, as the path to Pandora is officially kicking in full gear now, and as we got our first still image of Avatar Fire and Ash, probably in the next coming issues we will also get some still images, probably more, and hopefully it won't be too long until we see the first teaser to Avatar Fire and Ash, giving us a glimpse of what we can expect from the third Avatar movie. But like I said, what do you think of my theories and speculations on this image? Let me know in the comments below, and for more Avatar content, have a look at the rest of my channel. Until next time, have a fantastic day and stay safe.